Let's say that these two were soulmates, twin flames, whatever the hell you want to call it. To have zero feelings of remorse towards your close friend, to have no guilt. And then what about when he went to her apartment and they started talking and he called her Ariana? He called Rachel Ariana. That sent me. I mean, he's disgusting. Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers? And Amanda.
Hi, cocktailers and B. So before we get into everything, because there's a lot to get into, I just wanted to say happy anniversary to you and to the cocktailers. We are officially 1 year in with the podcast.
I remember when we did our first podcast and we were trying to figure it out and it was so confusing. And you and I were both like, you know what? We're going to give this a month. And if after a month this doesn't get easier, just forget it. It's a lot of work. We've never missed a week.
Never missed a week.
There was 1 week that I think you were on vacation and it was me and Larry. But other than that, we've never missed a week.
Yeah, I was on a work trip and
right.
I was on a work trip in Vegas, and it was just like, it was tough to make it happen. And so Larry so graciously and amazingly stepped in. But yeah, the first time we recorded 3, we were definitely drinking wine because we were like,
oh my God,
nervous. And oh my God, sorry. That was the scariest.
What was
thunder.
that?
Did you hear that?
Oh my God, I thought your mic fell.
Oh my God, my poor dog. And like, when the lightning is like right over your, like,
yes.
It happens at the same time as the thunder. That's what happened. So the storm is like over my head and there's car alarms going off now.
We were so sloppy that first time. By the third episode, I remember we were like, okay, we can't drink until we used to record 3 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
And now
we did 3 and then we did 2. And then,
right.
By the time we would get into second, we were a little tipsy.
And then we decided that we were going to record and get it out that within 24 to 48 hours because people are like, we need the tea right away.
Yeah. And here we are. It's a year later. Sorry. Big thunderstorm outside, guys. And my dog is like freaking out. A year later, and here we are. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Okay, let's get back on our usual BS here. Okay, we have to start with Vanderpump because, I'll just do a quick recap because I'm sure everybody's seen it. So today is Thursday. Everything was last night. The show starts out where kind of it was supposed to end. And then we get Ariana telling the story about how she found out. We see the quote unquote, it's over fight with her and Tom in the house. We see her friends surrounding her. We see Tom and Rochelle at her apartment, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in depth. And we see Tom and Tom talking. We see James calling Rochelle and raking her over the freaking coals on speakerphone.
That was so funny.
It's so good. We see Tom and Katie doing the dog exchange and talking about it. And then we end with Tom at Scheana's house apologizing, quote unquote, again. It's interesting because I feel like we had heard a lot of what was going to happen just with our sources and everything. But I had not heard anything about Scheana talking about how Tom said they were never friends. I would understand her being so upset just that this had happened with, her friendship with Tom. Like, for him to be like, we were never friends, and see that she was so upset about that. That was a piece of information I definitely didn't know about. I don't know. I did feel like she has officially been now taken off of my BEC list.
She was so
list.
Great last night.
Good.
She was beyond. Like, she was so raw, and she really is great reality television. I also want to give a shout out to Brock, who has done like a 180 in my eyes, and how he was very cold to Tom. Like, he wasn't aggressive or inappropriate or threatening, but he basically was like, you are now nothing to me and you can speak with my wife and then you'll be nothing to her after that conversation and adios, I'm taking my kid to the park.
Yeah.
I really thought he handled it beautifully, as did Sheena.
Yeah. And getting out and like not being involved actually in that conversation, I was like, I'm sure that they probably talked about what's the right thing to do. And like the fact that he left and just left the two of them to talk was, I think, the right totally. And getting Summer out of that house.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I just, watching that entire episode, I'm like, what in the freaking world? He is so much more narcissistic, selfish, out of touch with anyone's feelings, way more than I had even thought. Like I just feel like the whole time he's upset because he got caught.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, and Ariana said he was mad at me.
Yeah.
He was mad that people were going to hear at TomTom. He was mad about what I was going to say about him, how he was going to look. He wasn't at all upset about the demise of his relationship.
Yeah. It was, I don't know. And then, I mean, Raquel, she just comes off as so low intelligence to me. Like not even low self-esteem, because I think there's that too, but just not smart.
It was her giggling for me, like giggly. Even let's say that this was true love, right? Let's say that these two were soulmates, twin flames, whatever the hell you want to call it. To have zero feelings of remorse towards your close friend, to have no guilt. And then what about when he went to her apartment and they started talking and he called her Ariana? He called Raquel Ariana. That sent me. I mean, he's disgusting. But what really struck me about him, and now anyone who has listened to our pod, we've been doing this a year, knows that I've never been a fan of his. I always felt he was self-righteous, self-important, self-involved, all the selves, and generally annoying. But something about him, a narcissist, right? But not like so maliciously so, but he always had that vibe. But something about him is so different. It's like the mask completely fell. He seems to have changed in like a deep way. I don't know if it's under the influence of drugs, if it's a mental breakdown, a midlife crisis, a combination of all of those things, but he's so off because he was always annoying. And Ariana was kind of always defending him. I mean, he always was rude to Katie and inserted himself in Katie and Schwartz's marriage and was rude to Stassi that time she did the book and just on and on and on. And the way he spoke to Kristen. I mean, he has a long history of speaking to women very poorly and men. Women more so, though. I always felt that way about him. I never really understood why Lisa Vanderpump enjoyed him so much. Schwartz, though, I was so happy when he rolled up. First of all, he rolls up on them. They're all sitting there with a smile on his face, like he's going to like a fun event. I think Ariana handled him beautifully to just be like, we're not friends. And at that point, she really didn't know what an accomplice he was to this, right?
Yeah.
But on Watch What Happens Live, she went as far as to say that she felt that Schwartz was actively helping Tom take her down.
Insane.
Helping him form this narrative that their relationship was terrible, that she was deeply unhappy, that they were deeply unhappy. And Schwartz's biggest concern was that he was canceled. And like, you see him when he goes to Katie's and Katie's like, you have like a choice to make here. Like, you can get on the right side of things. And he was like, my business, my family, the crocodiles. And she's like, you sound like a fucking country song. But it was incredible. I mean,
here's my theory. Okay, because I want to comment on both Toms and Tom walking up and smile. I think Tom Sandoval has had this cult leader weird vibe, right?
Yes, cult leader.
Is
he like a Scientologist?
Persona? I have no idea. Part of that is the power, right? And like feeling powerful and feeling like you have this power over other people, right? And I think that that included and probably still includes Schwartz. So I do think that Sandoval had manipulated Schwartz into some of the stuff. Not saying that Schwartz is not at fault, because I've been very clear about what my opinion was about what he should have done, which was be like, tell her by X day or I will. But I think with Tom Sandoval, like the mask, as you said, came off. He has been exposed as the real Tom for the first time ever, because Ariana always defended him too. And he had Sheena on his side. She would jump in
for
and
almost
defend
10
him.
years, right?
Yeah. And like
he had all these shields.
The power got taken away. And we see the real him. And that is, he doesn't know what the fuck to do because like he's exposed.
I think that people gave him the benefit of the doubt as in a general way, including fans, including probably his staff, including the friends, quote unquote, the cast, whatever, because Ariana is such a stand-up person that you have to kind of assume. It's like when you meet somebody, like if you meet your friend from college's husband, right? And you guys don't live near each other and you meet him and you're kind of like rubbed the wrong way by him. Then you say to yourself, but like, I know her and I know who she is as a person. And if she's a good person, she wouldn't be with somebody. So I must just be misinterpreting, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think people felt about Tom. And then when this happened, everybody was just like, aha, he is who we thought he was. But I have to tell you, I really didn't like Lisa Vanderpump's scenes. I didn't like her reaction. I didn't like her in the confessional when she said, oh, I know that Ariana and Sandoval didn't have the best sex life. So it was just too much for him to have a beauty queen throwing herself at him. Okay.
It's such a like boys will be boys statement.
And I wonder if she'd say the same to her daughter Pandora if her husband ever got caught cheating on her with her friend. Like, talk about like antiquated, just, yeah, it's disgusting. Boys will be boys bullshit. It was clear to me that she cared much more about her business relationship with both the Toms than Ariana or Ariana's feelings. I mean, this was a 10-year relationship. And Ariana on Watch What Happens Live, because Ariana said, and she said to Schwartz, very simply, I will not have mutual friends with him. And I clearly know that you're going to choose him. I don't know if she said that, but it was inferred. So you and I are no longer friends. And when asked last night by Angie on Watch What Happens Live, she said that Lisa and Ken, she thinks would be the exception. I really hope she rethinks that. I do understand that she can't, you know, she's got to be careful because Lisa probably has a big say in who's cast on the show. But I hope that she doesn't actually, I hope she actually is mad at Lisa, like, and doesn't, you know?
Yeah. And maybe she was just walking the political line, but has her behind closed doors feelings about the whole situation. I mean, I can only imagine too, like she's got to be seething after watching that finale and hearing what Lisa said. I mean, I know Lisa has this role of being the quote unquote mother to the whole group. But I mean, if there's ever been a time where she can take a side, it's freaking now. And then this whole like Tom with the histrionics when he's like sobbing against the window, like I felt that was completely an act.
Completely an act, but he did show emotion with her and with Schwartz. And it all goes back to him, his business. You know, like he was probably most scared. He probably wanted to be victim so that Lisa didn't kick him out of the business or say, I'm buying you out. I'm done with you. We're going to make a public announcement, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, he got caught once again. And that's what he's upset about.
And some new info that we posted in Cocktail Party is that, according to my source, Raquel is in a facility, as she claims, or at least this is what her people are saying, and she's finishing up soon. This is really the icing on the cake. Her team plans on asking the facility to make a statement that she was really there. Also, the rumors that they split, they were never an official couple, Amanda. They were hookup partners. They were never boyfriend and girlfriend. So her not being physically around him means they're not together because they're not hooking up. They didn't have a title. And did you see when Ariana said on Watch What Happens Live last night that she sends letters to the house? I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Good luck, Raquel, because you're going to freaking need it. What about all of the stuff we're now hearing that there's still more information that everybody doesn't know, which is why they are not filming yet? So executive producer told Variety magazine that the need for a delay became clear to him after they filmed the reunion. To move forward, the cast needs to see all three parts, the last of which airs on June 7th. The reunion is not just a recap of what you know, and it's not just an intense version of emotions. There is new information. And then he said, I'm not saying this as a tease. It's true. But he wouldn't spoil what he means. He even pressed and say, when he was pressed, he said, I'll put it this way. There are revelations, and they are revelations that not all of them know now. So we need a little space. I had thought we needed cameras on them right away.
So he thought they were going to start the season ASAP, but something big was uncovered that not all cast knows about and will need time to process. Filming won't be as soon as originally planned.
Okay, well, let's think about this because we know that Raquel and Sheena were not in the same room.
Right.
So would it be that Raquel shared something, or what, do we know if there's like was there a one-on-one with Andy?
Because here's the thing. The other cast would have been there. So even if Sheena wasn't in the room or vice versa, Raquel wasn't in the room, which obviously it seems it would be Sheena not in the room, the cast would have shared that with Sheena immediately after. So was there a one-on-one? It's possible because remember, after they filmed that apartment scene where she giggled the entire time and he called her Ariana and then said, they love you. And she said, I love you. He goes, oh, I said they love you. But yeah, I love you too. I love you too. Weird.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess
she disappeared. So maybe they did do a one-on-one.
Maybe. I mean, because there's been enough time and because people have posted it outside of Cocktail Party, which was not cool. There was the rumor that, there was the email that we got that said that Raquel was pregnant that we posted in Cocktail Party. So, I mean, if it's something like that and it comes out in the one-on-one, then I would imagine like they're going to need a little time because people are going to flip out if that's true.
Or it could be some sort of other affair.
Which is another thing that we have gotten. That is actually source information on.
And then there was talk about people in a contract negotiation. None of that has begun. As of, this recording, none of that has begun. But I'm sure they will soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ariana even mentioned on Watch What Happens Live last night that there was another affair and that it was with somebody that we might know, but who wasn't on the show. She wouldn't say who it was to Andy last night. And then should I read that email, the broken up email?
Yes. And it's important to note that this email was posted by us in September of 2022.
Yes. Okay.
So before BravoCon, right as they were wrapping up filming.
Right. Because BravoCon was October. Okay. Subject, broken up. The rumors are true. These bar stars have broken up. They are currently filming and tried to wait until after filming, but faking it became too much. She had tried to make things work and suggested therapy. Contrary to popular belief, he is not the domesticated partner who wanted a family. He's been enjoying touring with his band and going out almost every night. She has been traveling with him, but he pays almost no attention to her while they're out, even leaving her at the venue to go out without her knowing it. They still seem to be friendly and no hard feelings. Wonder if that will change when she finds out what he's really been up to.
So let's all remember that we posted this and we heard the leak that, they have an open relationship. And then people were starting to think maybe they had broken up, but they were hiding it until this, the show aired. BravoCon came, they were together, and we all just kind of forgot about it. They both squashed the rumors. They were there together. It just makes you wonder who sent this. So a lot of people were like, maybe Raquel sent it. Mm-hmm. But a follower reached out to me yesterday and said, remember, I told you he was cheating. And again, this is all before Scandival. So you get these emails, you get these messages. And I always tell you guys, we put the puzzles together with different pieces. And when you just get a lone piece, you're kind of like, you don't really want to post a thing that could potentially, especially, listen, thanks to you guys and all the Bravo community, we get a lot of clicks a month. So like if I post something that's complete nonsense and is going to damage, we do use discretion. We don't just belligerently post any old thing. And it just seemed made up. Obviously it wasn't. It wasn't made up because yesterday she sent me what she had originally sent me, which was that they were split or the girl in the band thought they were split or they had an open relationship, which again, there was all that chatter, right? Mm-hmm. He was fooling around cheating with a girl in his band and sent me the pictures like to prove like them together. It was the same time we posted this other email. So it was actually two pieces of thing, but at the time it wasn't really connected because if it's not on the same day, I'm not an expert. I miss things too. And this was obviously a miss.
Yeah.
And then we were the first ones who were told that he was cheating with Raquel. So there's definitely somebody in there that intended on getting it out. And they certainly used us as a vehicle. Thank you very much. We like being that vehicle. Please continue to send. So I say all that to say he was cheating. It's not that obviously cheating with Raquel was for obvious reasons so much worse. It was long-term. She was a good friend. They were part of her group. But he was also cheating with the girl in the band. At the same time, he was cheating with Raquel. So he was cheating on his side piece with another side piece.
Yeah. And that whole, like, if she just followed me, she would have known. Like, it's her. What in the actual F, Tom? I mean, trying to blame it on her for not finding out sooner because she didn't follow you. Like, whatever. I don't know. This week. So
wait, I want to just say one other thing.
Oh, sure.
Are we wrapping up Vanderpump?
Yes.
Okay, so there's one point we have to touch on.
Yeah, let's go.
I need to know your opinion on this.
Okay.
Ariana last night, because first Tom said to Sheena she always knew about Miami Girl. Ariana last night on Watch What Happens Live admitted it, and Andy says we'll hear that in the reunion too. She said she knew about Miami Girl. She was protecting him because they weren't yet exclusive, and she didn't want people to think the worst. It does make me wonder if she knew about some of his indiscretions. And I know that you and I have spoke on the pod before, and I thought it was interesting that Tom said it last night. Like, Tom and Ariana have an unspoken pact, or maybe a spoken pact, that they will not embarrass each other on the show. They try not to fight, like, about major things on the show.
Yeah.
So a big piece for me was the public humiliation. Seemed to be a real rule breaker for her. I'm not seeing everything come together now, and this is probably going to be an unpopular take, but I'm not really sure that cheating in and of itself was a deal breaker for her. Now, that isn't to say it's something that she looked forward to finding out about.
Right.
What I mean by that is she knew about Miami Girl. She still took up for him. She still whatever. We know he had various discretions. She said that there was another, she said on Watch What Happens Live, and he said to Sheena, there is somebody else in their world, not on television, so it can't be Billy, that she suspected he cheated with.
Right.
So part of his reaction is that, and again, in a way, it's almost like she was in an abusive relationship if she tolerated an indiscretion a year or whatever it was, right? Like, it wasn't like every night he was cheating.
Right.
It was like the rumor that when he was at Winter House, he hooked up with that girl, Gabrielle, that pretty thin girl with the curly hair. You know what? Out of sight, out of mind. If it didn't get out publicly, I do think that it sounds to me like over the course of their 9+ year relationship, there may have been a handful of things that she found out about that were one-night things that didn't go anywhere, that weren't public, and that she chose to ignore or forgive him for.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, I don't know about you, but I know plenty of couples where there's been somebody who was, unfaithful and they made it through, and like it didn't become something that it wasn't a relationship ender. So it wouldn't surprise me if, they worked through it privately and she believed him when he said, I'm not going to do it again.
And I guess it's like a bigger conversation, right? Just about relationships and saying, I hear your thunder, by the way.
Oh, gosh.
It's scary.
It won't go away.
Like saying, like, if there is a marriage and one of the spouses, be it the man, be it the woman, is in Vegas on a business trip and something happens and the other spouse sees the hotel room receipt and they find out, are people more likely in that situation to move past it because no one knows about it? It wasn't a long-term thing. It wasn't an affair. It was just a physical one-time thing.
Right.
Whereas it seems that was the case with them. Whereas if it was something where your spouse was carrying on an affair with a coworker and other coworkers knew and it was happening and you found out and you were the last to know, or other people found out as you found out, and now everybody knows and it was a long-term thing where they were meeting up for dinner and drinks, and it's more likely to split you up. So it seems to me that that's the case, that, when he had these one-offs, she sort of went with the boys will be boys thing.
Or they decided to handle it privately and she believed him when he said, I won't do it again.
Right.
I think that there is I can really see that happening. And I could understand that, especially when you have a house together, you have you're as she said, like, you're in it for life and you're ride or die. And every couple is different. What is not okay for one couple is
Right.
what one couple can maybe get through, maybe another one can't. Like, and no judgments from me by any means. I think that's probably more of what it was. I don't think it was a like, I'll agree to look the other way kind of
Right.
situation. I think it was I believed him when he told me he wasn't going to do it again.
Right.
Which is just
That's
sad.
fair.
It's
That
just
makes
sad.
sense.
Okay, well, let's move on because I am so excited to talk about Roni, the new one, because the upfronts, which throw that term around now, and I don't think people know what that is. Again, me with my marketing background, the upfronts is a media event where networks will bring their stars out and then they'll like give previews for the next year's programming so that they can attract advertisers for the next year. And that's where you get like, you go and you negotiate rates up front, which is why it's called upfronts. Say, yes, I will buy the NBC Nightly News and watch what happens live for the entire year, whatever it is, right?
Right.
So they marched their stars out and we had Ariana, Queen Ariana. We had the new Roni cast, and then we had our OG NYC ladies. And of course, Ariana was the main event. And we did share that we knew that was going to happen. So little humble brag on our part.
Always humble bragging. Okay. The intro for the Roni reboot, incredible. It got my blood flowing. It reminded me of Sex and the City. It reminded me of the OG Roni women.
Yes.
And then the full trailer just cemented my excitement to meet this group of fabulous ladies. Brynn seems like a pistol, and we see her and Erin really getting into it. Seems like Erin accuses her of flirting with her husband, which should make for plenty of drama. We also see Giselle and her husband fighting, and it seems she accuses him of being unfaithful, or Sai accuses him. Sai is the one who says it, like, who you fucking to Giselle's husband. Wild. I was thinking, is Giselle the housewife who's coming on here to get divorced? Because we get those sometimes. Yeah, there's always one. We see her wanting to send her kid to a $62,000 a year private school because Tom Cruise sent his kid. We got to assume that's Surrey. And this is the New York City we deserve, okay? We deserve to see these morons paying $65,000 a year to send a 3-year-old to finger paint. Inject it into my veins. Uba and Erin going at it, Sai cursing everybody out. And it's so funny to me because all the haters, and I think I'm going to stop going on Twitter because it's just, people are just negative there. I'm not really that, I don't even know how to really use Twitter. Like when people respond to me and I see it, I'm like, how do I see? Well, anyway, it's anything but boring.
Yeah.
They look dynamic.
Bring it on. I can't wait. I mean, I'm already invested. I think I've mentioned I love following Brynn on social. I think when I was just like looking through the casting, I was like, she looks interesting. And so I picked her. I did not like her when she said, if you're ready to get divorced, I'm single. I don't know, somebody, it looks like it was somebody's husband.
That's Erin's husband. I do think that was like an edit. In other words, I think that I think we're going to see, I don't know why I think this because I rewatched the trailer 50 times. I think Erin accused her of flirting with somebody else's husband, like another guy who was married. And so then I think that Brynn said it to him as if like kind of making fun of what his wife said to her. That's how I see it because who would have the balls to really walk over to someone's husband in a group of women they're socializing with and be like, when you're right, if she did that, then she's really crazy.
That makes a lot more sense too, because Brynn actually, like I said, I follow her on and she seems to be doing just fine in the like dating and like fun and everything department. So
they're also good looking too.
Yeah, they are. And the fashion looks really good. I'm super excited about that. Then to Legacy B, we had been talking about this OG cast doing this girls trip, Scary Island. And then we heard, we had been sharing like who the cast was going to be. And then the day that they all signed on, we posted that it would be Luann, Dorinda, Ramona, Sonia, Kristen, and Kelly.
So I think for the general public, the non-Bravo and Cocktail readers, the two shocks were Ramona and Kristen. Now, Ramona has said on several pods she won't be doing a full season anymore. She has said she strongly believes it has inhibited her from moving on and finding love after Mario. What are your thoughts on her saying men don't want to date her because she's on TV? And she did, say quality men.
I mean, I actually completely believe that. I think the non-thirsty guys definitely would not want to date a housewife who's filming for at least half of the year. I mean, I don't know how long that they film, but it's a lot. And I think it's only you only start to get the thirsty ones. I believe it.
And especially her dating pool, right? So if let's say it's Brynn, who's a younger woman, Ramona's dating pool is going to be older men, in their 60s or late 50s, and they're going to be wealthy and they're going to be established. So it isn't like, whereas the RHONY reboot women, we might see them dating a young tech guy who's on the come up and has an app he wants to get on television.
Yeah.
Like Ramona's guys, anybody she's interested in dating has bread. He doesn't need any exposure. He's probably retired and has offshore accounts and he's good. So I definitely do see her point. And a lot of people are like, Kristen, why Kristen? Well, you know what? Why not? You kind of need someone to level out. That's a lot of wild personalities. So you need like a narrator. We know that Tinsley, and we know everybody wanted Tinsley. Mm-hmm. We know she really was on the fence and she ultimately said no.
Yeah, this guy that she's dating seems very private and I think she loves love. And if the guy is private, she's like, nope. Okay, but wait, I want to ask you a question. Did you see, I think it was from Bravo TV, there was like an illustration of an apple tree and it had all the apples with the cast names, but then there were 2 apples that didn't have a cast name next to them?
Okay. So I'm going to go a little off track and then come back to answer that.
Okay.
So Bethany came out and did a whole TikTok, about how Bravo did this girls trip to save money because they didn't want to pay for Legacy. I have a well-placed source who told me that's simply not true. They did it to get the right women to do the show. A week is a shorter commitment. Mm-hmm. And I think the hope is once they're back into it, who knows what could spin off or become of it? Who knows what other former RHONY women would be willing to come on, maybe for another trip, maybe for something longer. So what the person told me was everyone, including a former housewife. So this is what the person said to me. Everyone, including, she meant Bethany, but I put former housewife, is saying that Bravo went the economical route. But really, it was getting the right women to commit to the show. This person claims they were paid almost 3 times as much. Now, I don't know if she means 3 times as much as a normal girls trip. That's what I'm guessing. I don't think. Right. Plus episodic rate after 6 episodes. The trip will be 7 nights, 8 days. It is June 12th to 19th, St. Bart's, same house. But now getting back to Bethany.
Yeah.
Why is she such a hater? Everything but Housewives has flopped. I remember Carlos King. I was listening to his pod. He's got a great pod. Shout out to Carlos King. He said that there is rarely life after Housewives for these women. It's true. And while she's made a lot of money in other endeavors, she has not had success on television in any way. She's tried different style, talk show, competition show, apprentice type show. Nothing has worked. Getting back to your question, here I go with my long-winded answers because I wanted to get all that in there. Mm-hmm. I can tell you this. If those apples represent Bethany and Jill, it will be a surprise to the other women. I personally have a source who believes it's possible. It is not something that I believe Bravo has confirmed or will confirm. But I definitely think it's possible. And I just find it ironic that Bethany in her TikTok made it a point to say, these women are desperate to be relevant and for attention. Because I see her being that way. And listen, Bethany is fantastic. And I hope she does go on the trip. Yeah. But what I mean that to say, if she shows up, that's her reason.
Yeah, I think there's a high possibility that they'll be on there. And I think everyone would love it. I love Kristen Tieckmann going on. I think she's going to be great. I'm super excited about her. So I don't know, I guess. And anybody who knows anything, let us know. We'll be happy to share or not share, whatever it is. Okay. Let's talk about Jersey because the finale was this week. Complete dumpster fire, I think, of an episode. Not that it was bad. It was just very chaotic. Top line, Dolores had the Peaky Blinders party. They didn't call it that, but we called it that way back when they were filming it. So Danielle decides this is her last chance to get some camera time. So she goes up and brings up this cheating rumor, and shit went off.
So let's just completely skip past the fact that Louis came looking for a fight. He walked in heated. He looked very off. Joe only engaged him when Louis became aggressive with Melissa. I mean, it was off the chain.
Yeah.
Honestly, the idea that this man ever wanted peace is straight up a joke. People can disagree or dislike each other, but he walked in there to fight and no intention of being civil. And it appeared to me that Joe did have that intention. They were like simply existing at the party. Nothing had even transpired yet. And I mean, Danielle had not yet mentioned the rumor, and Melissa and Teresa had not started arguing.
Right.
And Louis was already acting aggressive and like shouting things at the Gorgas, but completely let's put that aside. How Teresa can expect anyone to believe her bullshit at this point, the narrative of, if I wanted to say it, I would have said it myself, when someone always does this dirty work for her. It's like the audience is smart, except for tree huggers. Season after season, she's done this. She uses her friends for a few years. Those were friendships ultimately blow up. Remember when she brought Danielle back into the fold? Yeah. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
My question for you. So this is like the overarching question. And then I'm going to let you answer, and then I'll give my feeling on it. Do you see a problem in Teresa telling Joe privately about the rumor? Would you do the same for your sibling if there was no evidence of cheating other than the rumor? Would you meet them alone, or would you and your husband meet the sibling alone?
Okay, I guess I should just say I am an only child, so I don't have really a clue.
Guys, I know Amanda's an only child, by the way, I can't believe it's hypothetical. But yeah, she's just pointing out that she's trying to express that she doesn't have that exact
sibling. Right. To say,
she has
like,
in-laws, but not a blood sibling.
And so, like, I don't know if I had a brother, right? I feel like I probably wouldn't handle it the way that Louis and Teresa did. I think that what I would probably do is I would probably just talk to him and not make a bit, like, just call him and be like, hey, I think I probably would be like, I just need you to know there's a rumor going around that I completely don't believe. I want you to know that it's being discussed because you're my brother. And I would say, like, I discredit the person who it's coming from because they're salty because they didn't get on the show.
Right.
And I think they're trying to take March on. But I need you to know that this is being talked about because I care about you and I don't believe it. But you need to know that people are saying this. That, I think, is probably the way I would handle it.
Same. I think that since Teresa says she never thought it was true, well, she's saying that now after. She wasn't saying that in the episode. I think in my situation, I do have a brother. And what I would do is, whether my husband was with me or not, I would deliver the message to both of them. They've been married a number of years, as Joe and Melissa have. And even if I believed the rumor, I would still have the respect for my brother and his marriage to say, this is what people are saying. I don't have evidence. I don't have whatever, but like, we're on a show and I don't want you guys to be blindsided. And then from there, my brother can either choose to just say this is complete nonsense, or he can look into it, or he can fight with his wife, or he can ignore it. But I am removed of any wrongdoing because I know that this is going around about my brother. I know that it could affect him in his life because people are saying it. So I do feel a responsibility to share it with him.
Yeah.
I also feel a responsibility, since I have no proof that this is true. Now, if I had proof, if Louis' private investigator had printed me pictures and I saw them in the back of the car, I may handle it differently. I likely wouldn't include my sister-in-law. I'd bring the pictures. Right. I'd hand them. I'd say, this is what someone brought to me because we're on a show. And, guys, this is all hypothetical. They don't have pictures. If they did,
I will tell you, this happened to my friend, though. This happened to my friend.
And tell us the scenario.
Her husband was cheating, and her family suspected, and she lives in a state where there can be fault in the divorce if there's proof. So the family hired a private investigator, got the proof, and took it to her, and only her. Which, you know, again, because there was proof, different situation versus lady who doesn't have a lot of credibility because she wanted to be on the show and she's salty about it, is going around trying to say, you know, that Marge has been, you know, trying to pin stuff on Marge, you know, again.
Well,
the other, if it's true, but
the other piece of it is that Melissa's like, I already know about this because she went behind my back and told her brother. That's the part for me. Like, I'm with my husband a number of years. If my sister-in-law heard something with no proof from an unreliable source, I would expect her. And people say, oh, because Teresa and Melissa don't have the best relationship. I don't think that's what's important. I think that you respecting your siblings' marriage and family because they have 3 children supersedes your personal relationship. So it would be an expectation of mine that I would be there for that conversation, unless there were obviously proof that I cheated, like unless they knew that it was true. Then that's the only case you could make. But obviously the goal all along was to get Melissa to turn on Margaret. Teresa did not care who it hurt in the process, or Jen, or Danielle. The goal was to see what Marge said about you behind your back. Don't be friends with her. Also, why was Louis even in the conversation and not Melissa? You know what I'm saying? Like, it should either be just the siblings or all 4.
Yeah.
Never mind that, you know, we said it, there was zero proof, but here's the next thing.
Why would Louis want to get his freaking hands dirty too? It's like...
But then he buried himself again in front of Dolores and Jen. And we need to discuss this. He came out and said, I hired a private investigator on all of you guys.
Yeah.
Dolores and Jen were like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Did you see their faces?
Yes.
He named the guy Bo Dietl, some, I don't know, semi-D-list person who's been on. And then on the reunion, I heard that was a big thing because people on the cast are claiming that he did, in fact, hire investigators to look into all of them.
That would not surprise me.
If Melissa was really cheating, they wouldn't have had to use Laura because they would have had better proof. So that's number one. But number 2, whatever anyone wants to say about Margaret, yeah, she does have information on people, but she's not the one hiring private investigators. Also, okay, I'm just going on tangents here, but I just can't wrap my head around him admitting that. It's like he was trying to pin something on Margaret and it didn't work, and that's what they were most mad about. They didn't care in that moment that Melissa and Joe, they were done with Melissa and Joe. He said in the previous episode he didn't want them at his wedding. He walked in that party ready to fight.
Yeah.
He burnt that relationship. He told Teresa, you're done with your brother. He wanted to burn the relationship between the Gorgas and Marge and Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was trying to, like, almost like a weird way of trying to catch him in a lie and be like, you better tell me now because I hired an investigator. He seemed extremely erratic on that episode. By the way, speaking of Bo Dietl, I saw on Instagram this morning that Bo Dietl came out and said, by the way, he did not hire me.
And Teresa said, they never paid. Why would we pay? But he also said it was his friend. And there's also rumors that Bo Dietl's daughter, I want to say, I don't think it was his wife, I think it was his daughter, tried to get on Real Housewives of New Jersey. So maybe he did him a favor. Maybe there was no money exchange and he never was hired. Maybe it's semantics.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But why would, and Andy said it on Watch What Happens Live, why would you fabricate that at your breaking point that you hired a private investigator? Nobody would fabricate that. Andy called him out right there. And did you notice that Stunad attorney sitting next...
I love it when you say that word.
Sitting next to Louis, why was the attorney there? Why was the attorney there? Because she goes everywhere with him?
I have no answers.
And so it's her birthday. And so they are coming out with a subscription. Top Tree Huggers can now have a VIP access into her world. She's going to have, I don't know, extra footage of her cooking. And when they go out to dinner, I don't know what it costs. And the reason I don't know much about it is because she is collecting emails for a subscription to her top fans. Collecting emails. I'm just saying, Jen Shah collected emails. Amanda has went over it a few times about how, you know, when you collect emails, you're basically you're not giving the right, but.
Well, an email and credit card, even worse, right?
Right.
People just be careful because especially if you do any of the Googling that we have suggested that you guys do as far as Louis' company and the reviews of what people are saying. Like, just, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And it has nothing to do with not what I think. I hope Teresa's business is very successful. There's ways that she could do it that use existing, your data might be a little bit more protected, I guess, like she could do a Patreon, she could do an Instagram subscription as well. So, an Instagram subscription wouldn't require an email. Just saying.
I don't know what it costs, and I'm very hesitant to give an email. So if cocktailers, if you do know what it costs, let me know. Okay, another thing I want to say. In that fight, something that stood out to me, I believe stood out to the viewers, had to have stood out to the viewers, was when Margaret said, your husband had an affair with an insubordinate. I mean, it was a below the belt comment. Then Jen said, she threw herself at him. And what? I just can't. And what about Danielle saying, I'm just trying to be a good friend by telling her? If she was trying to be a good friend, I do believe they both have working cell phones.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean, that's
like it would have still been filmed, but it certainly wouldn't have been all that hoopla.
No.
They obviously, Jen and Teresa, put Danielle up to it. And she fell into this pawn game and she's in it now. She's in it, or they turn on her and they get somebody else to do their bidding.
She clearly, yeah. And she clearly wanted to do it too, because she knew that this would get her a key role in the finale, where it's also going to get a lot of attention put back on her during the reunion.
Right.
So there's a lot to talk about. I mean, she's come in and she's done a good job as far as a housewife and stayed in the fray.
And again, it's her not having to talk about her own story, which I saw something very interesting on Instagram, whatever, somewhere on the internet. And it was basically saying that when people are estranged from an immediate family member and they say things like, I don't know why, there's no reason, I don't know why, it's basically that they won't accept the reason why, right? Mm-hmm. So if the reason why is that she wanted to film everything in her life, including his wedding, which his wife didn't want, and she wasn't even on a show at that point, so it technically wouldn't have mattered. But since she was always shopping things, similar to how we now see Dumois with the tip that Luke is shopping a show. Did you see this?
Yes.
And my source, I was like, come on, I know this is, because my source tells me that he was fired by Bravo. People, they try to get production companies. What he said was, this happens 100 times to every one show that gets greenlit. Mm-hmm. I'm going a little bit off topic, but I'll come back to Danielle. So basically what that means is, if this is true, Luke and his friends put up some money to film a teaser, and then that teaser will be sold like a product on Shark Tank to all the networks, TLC, AMC, whatever. But no, Bravo does not get involved until NBC decides to write a check. They don't need to do preliminary investment because so many companies and shows are sending stuff in. Right. Maybe Truly Original is funding a skeleton crew, but since Luke was, from what I hear, fired from Bravo, his show would never be on Bravo anyway. He said also, stuff like this gets sent in by people involved in the project. You have to remember, if it's a real project, NDAs are real, and projects only work if no one ever finds out. Point is, those details, or example, the show's name would never be found out if it was real. So they're just trying to get traction. We also saw Luke ring shopping with the bachelorette that he's been dating for 4 minutes. I say all that to say, so I think that Danielle was always in this world of trying to get something off the ground.
Yeah.
And so her brother was like, where I'm involved, I don't want to be filmed. And I think that her reaction was, well, you have to be, or I can't come around because everything about me is filmed because I want, Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying who's right or wrong. That's not my place to say. But when she says she doesn't know, she does know. It's just she's not willing to accept it. She, in ways, except for the fact that her marriage seems healthier than Teresa and Giudice's was when they had young children, she seems to rule the roost. Like her husband's just a bystander to her. And happily so. He seems very happy to play
second fiddle. Yeah, yes. Agreed.
But I say all that to say, she seems to have that same obtuse way of thinking. So easily affected by anything the women say to her. It's like, hun, You're on a reality show.
And it's Housewives.
Right.
Like, of course, there's going to be all kinds of insults flying. And of course, somebody is going to make fun of your Amazon clothes. And yeah, because that's low hanging fruit. And, you know, these women, especially in Jersey, have very sharp tongues and very sharp eyes.
I also thought it was interesting to watch Dolores, as you often point out, walk on that knife's edge, as you call it.
Yeah.
And she ended up going to Teresa's house because now she's a bridesmaid.
Yeah.
And Teresa's wedding was days away from it. It's her long-term friend, and she made the decision long ago that she would stay out of it and she wouldn't pick a side. But especially when you see their interviews for the after show, Dolores is making faces and looking away. You can very much see that she doesn't think Teresa's right. She just doesn't want to be involved.
But she also admitted, she's like, I called Melissa to see how she's doing. I thought that, again, masterfully played by Dolores. I was impressed again because, yes, she went to Teresa's house, but she called Melissa to see how she was doing. And Dolores, this episode, I feel like it wasn't even just on the after show. I feel like there were a lot of facial reactions that she was like having a hard time holding back. That she's usually pretty masterful about it, but there were like the shock when Louis like, I hired an investigator, you know, like a lot of that stuff, she couldn't hold it completely back.
Right.
Can you even imagine that too, that the stress of that party being 4 days before the wedding? I mean, I remember even back then I was like, wait, they're having a party now and the wedding, it was like on a Tuesday and the wedding is this weekend. Like,
but you know what the
insane.
Other thing is? Like, and now we see the coming attractions for the wedding special. You see Louis screaming, why are they posting stuff on Instagram? Why are you guys looking at their posts the day of your wedding?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in a love bubble, I'm in a love bubble. I'm not looking on Instagram at people who I just had a falling out with who clearly are upset.
Yeah, you're looking for something to get pissed off about.
And I don't believe it was Teresa looking. I believe that he was angry and shouting about it. And that's when she looked and that's when she got upset. And I believe her upset came from Louis being upset.
Yeah.
I think Teresa's very clear on why her brother's mad at her because let's face it, she did the pizza thing. She did the rumor thing. Her fiance, now about to be her husband, caused that whole scene, was yelling at Joe. And like Joe is not an innocent bystander in it. I'm not saying that, but Teresa knows that they're mad and that they're at the shore hanging out with their friends. It's Louis' anger that was upsetting her on her wedding day. It was his reaction to it. And I think that we're going to see that. I think that the edit shows her crying and then him saying, but I think that what we're actually going to see is him bringing to her attention or bringing to somebody who brings to her attention. Like Louis really pissed off right now because your brother's post. And then she grabs her phone and looks. I can't imagine that when she's getting her hair and makeup done, she's wanting to look at Instagram.
Yeah, I can't imagine either. Okay, question for you. But although I probably putting all that hair on probably took kind of a while, so maybe she had some time on her hands.
True.
So
even Jen teased it. She's like, the hair's supposed to be an accent, not the main event.
Her face, when you see it, like in the preview, and this is what I was going to ask you. So, like, are we going to talk about this on the pod? Like, what do you think?
The wedding?
Yeah.
I know, listen, a lot of accounts are boycotting it. I have no intention of boycotting it. I don't stand on principle where this isn't like a situation of racism or something like that. This is housewives drama.
Yeah.
I could be on the Gorga's side. I'm not going to miss that train wreck of a wedding. Are you crazy?
Yeah, I know.
Why should I?
Really
How dare people suggest that we do that?
I want to see real time Jen have this reaction to the
And
hair.
I've said it a million times. These tree stands call for Melissa to be fired. I don't want Teresa to be fired. I think Teresa is great TV. I don't agree with the blessed thing she does, but I like to watch her as she fumbles through life.
Well, it's interesting to me too that, this party blows up like this. People are pissed, but Marge ends up going and so does Jackie to the wedding.
They're on a TV show.
Yeah.
They're on a TV show. We see Marge say, it's just sad that Joe and Melissa aren't here. So she's the vehicle for that. And I'm sure it's her and Jackie. Rachel didn't go, but also Rachel's new to it. And Rachel's not going to walk in and stir the pot the way that Jackie and Marge will as seasoned housewives. So what we know as of right now, which we said a while ago, and now everybody else is chattering about, is that filming is not starting in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has signed an official contract yet. the understanding at this point is that all the full times are being asked back. That could change. I don't think it would change in the way that people think. I very much believe that Melissa will be asked back full time. Obviously, Teresa will be asked back full time. I don't personally see Teresa not coming back, but if she wasn't back, surely it would be her choice. Same with Melissa. Dolores, I don't see going anywhere. I mean, she's got this whole new life and she just plays such a good role of the in-between. Do they shake it up with Marge? Again, I think Marge will be back. I heard all full time, but you say to yourself, they're pausing right now. They're giving it space like they did with Beverly Hills. A dynamic change would happen if Marge wasn't there. Because if the person in your ear was Dolores, who's more, of the peacemaking friend, and if that's the go-between, and it would be a mutual go-between, is there a chance of, and again, it's not going to be a real reconciliation because there's so much bad blood, but do we see some mend there? Or does Louis just completely put the kibosh? Or does Louis want to look good to the fans so he decides to be the bigger person and kind of, make it okay with the Gorgas until the next thing that blows up and they fight again? I don't know. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And I love Marge. I'm not saying that that's what I would want, but I'm saying that I can almost see a world where that would be a shakeup. I mean, more so than I see Melissa being the one to go.
Yeah, agreed. We all know that Andy Cohen absolutely loves Joe Gorga too. And while he says he doesn't have casting decision-making, I know that he has influence. And, the other thing is too, is like, maybe we're in a situation where they know like something's going to go down and they're waiting because they want to be able to catch it,
Right.
Or maybe they feel like, who knows? But I guess we'll see. And I think it's probably good because it does feel to me like last season was really rushed in terms of, or compressed, I guess is a better word for it. Like it started kind of in the spring and then ended with Teresa's wedding, which makes sense that should be the ending for that whole situation. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of them giving it a little and giving us a little breathing room.
I want to see the holidays.
Yeah.
I like Jersey in the winter.
I like it too. Well, thank you guys so much.
Cocktailers.
It's our year anniversary. Thank you for sticking. If you're new, thank you for coming. If you have been sticking with us since our first drunken episodes, thank you. We appreciate you. We're happy to be here a year later.
Till next time.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.